Do you ever just get the urge to run? Hello, my name is Skylar Mack, and today I'll be talking about a great place to burn all that energy, the Pikes Peak Ascent. In the event that someone wishes to participate in this marathon, I'm here to inform everyone about it. So today, I'll be breaking down the Pikes Peak Ascent through the discussion of history, difficulty, and route information you'll need to know to be successful during this marathon. Thank you for listening to that introduction. I'll now begin discussing the history of the Pikes Peak Ascent. The first thing I'd like to touch on is how it's changed over time in terms of where the race begins. According to the encyclopedia staff of Colorado Encyclopedia, during the race's conception, it initially began at the Pikes Peak Cog Railway. This was then moved to Manitou Avenue in 1960, and finally in 1976, it was moved to Manitou City Hall as it stands today. The full marathon includes running from the City Hall to the summit of Pikes Peak and then returning back to the City Hall. In 1960s, a growing number of women, boys, and older men chose to run the half marathon option instead, which ended at the summit. You see, back then, men ages 19 to 34 still had to run the full marathon. However, in the 1970s, this was lifted, which granted everyone the ability to run whatever they desired, half marathon or full. Now that I've spoken about the history of this race, I would like to now discuss the difficulty of the Pikes Peak Ascent. The first point I would like to touch on regarding the difficulty of this race are the difficult conditions racers must endure. The halfway point is at the summit of Pikes Peak at 14,115 feet, where there is 43% less oxygen to breathe, making this race particularly brutal. In addition to the lessened oxygen in the air, the average grade for this race is 11%. Think about running up a slight incline of 11% for over 13 miles. Then run another 13 miles back down the mountain. Talk about taxing. Now that I've spoken about the difficulty, I would like to touch a bit more on the information regarding the route of the race itself. The first point I'd like to touch on is the elevation gain found in this race. From the start of this race in front of the Manitou City Hall to the summit of Pikes Peak, there is a total gain of 7,815 feet or 2,382 meters. In addition to that, even running down from the summit, there will be inclines as it isn't all downhill. Runners should be aware of this before they start their training due to the niche nature of this race. In addition to the large elevation gain, the trail is also quite narrow, meaning passing is difficult or impossible. Experienced runners actually advise against passing due to the energy expenditure often leaving you fatigued only to ultimately be passed by those you just passed. And there we have it. All the information is on the table. Today we talked about the history, difficulty, and route information of the Pikes Peak Ascent. So now that you're an expert on this race, go out there and grab a gold medal or two. Thank you.